Okay, go ahead.
Okay. We started the meeting at 7:03.
Okay, yep. Gonzalez?
Here.
Masajek?
Here.
Munzone?
Here.
Pelletier here. Puzo?
Here.
Swanson?
Here.
Jost?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for being here and for bearing with the last minute change. It kind of just par for the course right now. So we appreciate everyone's understanding right now. So let's move in to approval of minutes. So I will make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for September 10th, 2020.
I'll
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Any comments? You want me to take roll call on that?
Yep.
Okay. Masajek?
Yes.
Munzone?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Here. Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez? Gonzalez?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will make a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting on April 2nd, 2020.
I'll second that one.
Okay, we'll vote on
Any
that.
questions, corrections,
Yeah.
comments?
We realized these had not been officially approved, so we're just trying to get everything together
Sure.
that we thought would be signed tonight. So then we realized in the course of that these were not approved prior to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll vote. Munzone?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Masajek?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have public comments, agenda items only. Nothing?
There's no one here, and I did not receive any public comments in email.
Okay. All right. Next is President's report. Well, the only thing I was just going to say is, Teresa, we wish you well. We'll miss you.
Teresa, if you're talking, you're still muted.
Thank you. I'm
There we
going to
go.
miss you guys too.
Yeah.
It's a choice that we had to make. It was something we had to do. So, yes, it was a very hard choice. So I'm going to miss the library.
Yeah.
And everyone. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Moving too.
We're actually moving in with our kids in Arizona.
Okay.
It'll be nice not having to go through the winter, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a plus, right?
Yeah.
But living with the kids is going to be strange.
Yes.
Well, that's a big life change. So there's got to be mixed
Yes.
emotions with that. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. So, well, but we do, you know, I think it was, your last day was before the next board meeting. So I wanted to make sure that we wished you well. And,
Oh, thank you.
you know, you have our best thoughts, and we enjoyed having you on the team.
Thank
for-
you.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed being part of the team. I enjoyed the job, and it's hard for me to leave. It's very emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, the best wishes, and I hope that you and the family stay healthy, safe,
Yes,
And-
thank you.
happy, all the good stuff. So,
Thank you.
okay. All right. Next we have committee reports. So first is finance, and if everybody when the last email sent out, there was a corrected check register sent a little bit later today. So just an FYI, if you didn't check that earlier. So, because I think maybe we all kind of did a double take with the check register initially. So just an FYI with that too. So, so finance.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statements reports for the, for September 2020.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll start with the cash statement. Any questions? Nope. Yeah, I have a question, but the PMI report, I didn't get it. Is it because it wasn't in here? You know, the one with the CDs?
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Okay.
You're muted, Pam.
I didn't receive it. either.
I mistakenly did not send that out. If you look at the cash statement, it does give you the amount.
Right.
So nothing, for September, nothing had changed in that. We did have a CD come due or mature a couple of days ago, so that will show up on October. So I did reinvest that, but for the month of September, it was the standard. So it didn't change significantly from the previous month, but I'll get that sent out to you guys.
Okay, I knew there was.
My apologies.
I knew there was a CD that was going to be due and I just couldn't.
Yeah, I
remember.
think it was two or 3 days ago. And then, like I said, I did reinvest it for another 2 years for
I
that
think you
one.
did it last time as well, didn't you? With the last few, whenever you just reinvest with the higher to get a more
Right.
return on the.
Yeah, so we're kind of on a rolling basis. So, you know, we'll have one that will mature like every 6 months or so, something like
Because
that.
it keeps get some kind of
Yep.
increase in the.
Yeah, but that will show up in the October financials. Yeah.
Check register, any questions?
Yes, do we normally write checks for IMRF twice? I see the voided check at the top, but then there were 2 other checks, 4732 and 4748.
What, well,
Oh, go ahead, Carlotta.
I'm just gonna say, the first ones were voided. The top ones, 43, 25, and 26 are voided, and I don't know why we voided it. I didn't.
Right, but those don't match the check numbers. There's 2 more below.
So are you just asking, do we always write 2 checks?
Well, there's 4.
Right,
So-
because the top 2 were voided. I don't know why they were voided.
Right,
Now-
Teresa, do you know why those were voided? Do you remember?
The village could not find them.
Oh, that's right.
That
Yes,
happened right
that's right,
before
that's right.
COVID, and they searched up and down and they could not find them.
That's right. So the 2 that are at the top that are the ones that are voided, those are old payments from like May, I think. Does that sound right, Teresa?
I think it was like the March
Or
checks
March
they
something.
lost.
So we
Yeah.
normally walk the checks over to the village, and so somewhere in between us dropping them off and the village
Okay.
doing something with them, they got lost. So that's why those 2 were voided, and then we had to
Rewrite ones
Mhm,
to May that they never
yeah,
received.
I'm sorry.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have a question on check 4708. That's for the Fifth Third Bank, and I know that's the credit card.
Mhm.
Okay, it's 21,265. So I questioned it, and I guess 11,000 in change was paid to Brain Freeze, that's a 1-year payment.
Right,
But why was it put on the credit card as opposed to just paying a bill?
So normally that's a bill that we pay with an invoice, but we didn't get the invoice. And so by the time that we were aware that the check was due, our subscription was going to expire. And so to keep the subscription active, we went ahead and put that on the credit card. Normally that is a check or an invoice that we will pay with the check.
And
But
it's-
this was a one-time thing. We just wanted to get it paid. And just with the uncertainty about with everything, we felt just to go ahead and get that done. But normally that will be paid through an invoice, and next year obviously will be paid through an invoice.
And it's a once a year.
Yes, it's an annual payment. Yep.
All right. Okay. I'm done. Are there any more questions on the check register? Okay, the income statement. I'm looking at this upside down. Is there any questions on that?
Sorry, guys. I'm using my husband's computer and I don't know how to work it. The whole top comes off.
As long as you didn't just fall down.
No,
That's what it looked like.
just the computer. The other one cuts off, so we're trying this one tonight. So if I, freeze up, then it's just our internet.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Were there any more questions or are we ready to vote on that?
Was there any questions on the income statement from anyone?
I don't think so. I think we're ready to vote.
Okay.
Okay. Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Masajek?
Yes.
Monzone?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, facilities. Well, usually, especially right now, the facilities reports will, we're not doing a walkthrough, at least right now, and really kind of updates with the YS renovation. That's kind of covers the facility report. So policy, I know that your last meeting was postponed. Understandably, the policies that were up for review were not of high emergency. So the decision was made by the committee to postpone those for till the next meeting, which is beginning like Q1 kind of.
Yeah, it should be like in January sometime.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we all make it through the winter,
Sure.
or at least the first part of the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did review those myself just to make sure that there was nothing kind of outstanding that we needed to address, and the policies are fine for our current situation, even though we're not allowing anyone like in meeting rooms and stuff like that. But there was no changes that needed to be made right away.
Sure, yeah. Okay. All right, so then moving on to staff reports. So Pam, did you have anything you wanted to add or highlight?
I think my report was pretty thorough. I mean, I think it, explained at least, a lot of what we're doing right now. Some of the stuff that I'll be talking about will, come under other agenda items, but did anyone have any questions about my report or any of the other manager reports?
No.
Well, I know that this is something that we will talk about later too, but I really like hearing that Jason Perkunas is easy to work with. I think that's a really good sign. That's important. So that's really great news. And I loved what Courtney said. She said that how she's heard from several Morton Grove residents, some without knowing who I was, and librarians from other libraries who are impressed with our programming and our effort to support the community. Other libraries are asking us to show them how we do what we do, and I mean, that's just so cool. I mean, it's just, and talk about turning, without sounding cheesy, lemons into lemonade. I mean,
Right.
the staff is really stepping up and really
The staff
awesome
absolutely
ways.
did, yeah. And I don't know if you guys saw the graphic, the statistical graphic that Karina creates. There was a
I
quote
love
on
this so
there.
much. I
Yeah,
love it
it's really
so
nice.
much.
And yeah, I'm compiling them all and pull them all together. But the quote on there I think is really nice as well. And I do know we've had at least a couple of other area library staff people come and talk to like Jess and Courtney about some of the programming and stuff that we're doing, because as I've mentioned before, our programs, even though they've gone virtual, most of them, we're trying to do a few things in person while the weather cooperates. are fairly successful, and we're getting people, you know, at them, and we're getting really positive feedback about them. And a lot of our neighboring libraries aren't seeing that same thing. So, you know, good job. The staff is doing an outstanding job, and the residents in Morton Grove seem to appreciate that because they're coming or they're attending, quote unquote. So, you know,
They really do appreciate, when I was out collecting signatures for the petition, it gave me an opportunity to talk to people who use our library. And for example, at the Village Hall, one of the clerks was so effusive. I was like, I wish I had my tape recorder. She was saying how our programs are super creative in a time of COVID and coming up with ways to keep people interested and supported, and that she hasn't seen that happening at other libraries. So that confirms what Emily was just saying, because this is like from people who are in your library at least once a month, at least. And another woman a young woman had suffered a stroke, and she said she comes into the library and uses it all the time because the people there are so helpful, and she's searching for a job. You know, your heart goes out to people because it's so personal to them.
Yeah.
You know, we have our board meeting, but for them, the library is like a refuge, a place where they can get answers.
Yeah.
It's very, very special.
Yeah. It's, you know, as a librarian, obviously, and, you know, it's very gratifying to kind of gives me chills, but I'll be sure to pass that on to the staff as well. But, you know, there's so much uncertainty and stuff like that. But as, you know, you've pointed out and recognized and everything, is that the staff really has stepped up. So, yeah, I think, you know, we're doing the best we can, as we all are, obviously, but, it's not the service that we had hoped to be providing to the residents of Morton Grove, but it's certainly, I think, when everything started, I think it's certainly more than we thought we could end up doing and do successfully. So I think we're all pretty pleased with the way that things have gone.
Yeah. I did want to highlight too that when you look at the graphic part, checkouts compared to from last September to this September, it's almost identical, which is just really amazing. I mean, you know, you could get caught up in the gate count, or that we don't seem as busy or whatever, but it just, that kind of goes to show how much people are needing and utilizing the library now, just as much as before. So
Did we all get that? Because I don't see that in my packet.
this was sent separately.
Oh,
Yeah, Karina didn't have it done by Tuesday, so it went out on Wednesday morning, I believe I sent it out.
Yeah.
So you should have it in your email. If not, I will be happy to resend it so that everyone can see it.
okay.
It was 2 o'clock on Wednesday.
What,
Oh,
2
sorry.
o'clock on Wednesday? Yeah.
Mhm.
2 o'clock.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or comments for Pam?
Oh, I saw we got the per capita grant. Woohoo!
We did.
Lovely.
That I was surprised, and it was the full amount. That will show up. It actually was deposited into our Illinois Funds account on September 30th, but we deposited it into our operating account at Fifth Third, and then posted it to our accounting software, Sage, October 1st. So it will show up on the October financials.
Great.
But we did get it, so that was it's a nice it's a nice surprise, because quite frankly,
It might be statutory, so they might lower it next year, but it's good that they got it for this year at least.
well, actually, statutorily, the Illinois legislature approved a higher per capita amount, because the per capita amount had been at this level, like the max level, for quite a few years. I don't remember the number, how long. And so they've actually approved a higher per capita limit before COVID hit. So, you know, we'll have to see what actually happens in terms of the amount of money we you know, they send us next year. But
Yeah, that's what I think. They might change because they might lower it, or they might try to approve something lower because of the, but.
well,
you know,
even that, so the max isn't always what we're going to get, because I know, like, during a few years back, they can always say, you know, we're not sending the full amount. So whatever, like 1 year, normally we get about 29,000. 1 year we only got about 17,000. So, you know, because of the conditions, the financial conditions of the state. So, you know, we'll see what happens next year. I imagine that
Yeah.
it's
gonna
very
be-
likely that we either won't get it.
But this year we got it, and like, you know, if we use it, you know, if it's being used there,
Right.
it'll be a benefit everybody. So that'll be.
Exactly. So,
How is the staff faring overall? Mental health wise, how is everybody hanging in? And
they're doing okay. I think most people have gotten used to what, you know, for us is kind of our new normal right now. You know, we anticipate that this will be the way things will be for a while. So, you know, we've gotten used to that. We continue to have people, you know, do some work from home if they can, just to minimize the number of staff people in the building, particularly in, you know, enclosed office spaces, that sort of thing. Everyone's super busy. They're doing programming. They're, you know, doing, you know, book discussions and collection development. And, you know, now we're you know, doing a lot of moving things around because of the upcoming renovation and stuff. So I think that overall staff, I think, are doing pretty well. You know, we'll see how the winter goes, and and then, you know, it's so funny because you know, talking about the renovation and stuff like that, and so Courtney is the one that always says this, and I have to laugh. She says, you know, in her mind, because you know, our idea being, okay, let's go through this renovation, and then when things get back to normal, we'll have this great new space for people and stuff like that. So she said, in my mind, in her mind, she goes, we're going to be done with this June 1. So,
Library 2021. That's the.
you know, just so that when we open, the pandemic will be over, or when, you know, the YS renovation is done, the pandemic will be over. You know, fingers crossed that that's absolutely the case. But I think overall people are doing pretty well. Surprisingly so. I think, you know, there's still, I think we all go through times where it's more stressful than others. And you know, certainly if we have to go back a phase, that will be difficult again. But I think overall people are doing pretty well, as can be expected, I guess.
yeah, yeah. All
They have
right.
that optimism too.
Yeah, so, you know, we'll see. We have a few people who have, you know, school-age children. I know that you guys are struggling with the balance of all of this, especially if you've got issues where you, like that happened to Emily and Tamara, but that hasn't seemed to be too much of a problem yet. So no one has asked to take advantage of any of the FFCRA leave that's available to them or anything. So, you know, I continue to make sure that people are aware that that's available if they need it. But so far, I think that things have been working out okay for them as well.
Okay. Good. Good to hear. All right. So if there's no other questions for Pam, then we'll move on to unfinished business. So first we have the 2021 budget, second and final reading.
So as I said in my report, I didn't make any, I updated the anticipated revenues and expenditures for 2020. And then I made, in my report, I had said that I hadn't made any other changes, but I did make one other minor change. I had added $3,000 to the web maintenance and improvement line. And so then I took the 3,000 out of the construction in progress line. So I just moved that money. I realized last week, actually, when I was looking this over, that I hadn't, in the web maintenance and improvement line, I hadn't included an annual bill that we get for the web upkeep as well. I was just looking at the monthly bill, so I had to adjust that. So that was the only reason. And like I said, other than that, other than the anticipated revenues and expenditures for 2020, there were no other changes made, which is why I also didn't resend out the notes, because I didn't make any changes with the notes.
Pam, you said you took the $3,000 and put it in the web from where? I just didn't hear what you took it from.
From the construction in progress budget line, Carlotta, 7020.
Oh, okay.
In the first reading, that amount was at 400,000 for 4,892. So now it's 401,892.
So we, Okay, but you took $3,000 out of the construction, but so it'll be $3,000 less, and that's what we're doing is construction. I mean,
Right. Well, the construction in progress line is not only for construction. It would be like if we wanted to do any additional services that we didn't plan. Like we have that budget line this year as well, and it goes towards those kind of most of that, almost all of that is probably going to go to the YS renovation. But that was an area that I knew I had a little bit of play there, so I was able to pull that $3,000 out. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't want you to shorten that. And then
Yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Because we're still going to be able to put some monies. I'm not making that decision yet because we're particularly things like the architect fees and some other things, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the renovation. A lot of that stuff can still be coming out of this year. So I'm not putting any monies into special reserves right now because I'm spending some of that down. So we will be we'll be paying for some of the construction stuff, particularly like the architect stuff, probably mostly out of this year.
okay.
So I think we should be fine for next year once we actually start construction and stuff.
And Pam, where does the per capita grant 29,000 go?
It goes it just gets deposited into our operating account. So, and then, is that what you're asking? And so when I apply for the per capita grant, I have to we have to include information about how we're going to use those funds. And if we've got a big project, like for example, a number of years ago, we used the per capita grant to pay for our website. We did that again, I think last year, we used the per capita grant to pay for the website. Normally though, what I try to do with the per capita grant, if I don't have a big project like that or something that I can say, okay, I know I'm gonna spend all this money on this one thing, I usually break it down between, you know, professional development or, you know, building improvements, those kinds of things. So there's a variety of areas that we can put that money towards. So, and then I just have to keep track of those funds that I'm spending using per capita grant funds, because then I have to report on those expenditures. But usually what we do with that is we just say, you know, it's an additional $29,000 a year. We're going to use it towards, you know, these 5 areas, which are fairly broad. And then I just have to track that so I can report to the state. Does that make sense, Lima?
Yeah,
Does
'cause
that
we
answer
see
your
it
question?
I see it under 3920, but I wondered, you know, how we were going to use it. So thank you.
And I'll be starting to work on that because it's due, I've heard a couple different things. It's normally due at the end of January, I believe. Yes. And I think, yes. And then I have heard just inklings here and there that the state library may extend that deadline. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'll still do it by the end of January. There's no reason for us not to. But you know, when I prepare that, I obviously will. There's certain things that the board will have to do, and you know, kind of board education, and in the application itself, I usually spell out how we're going to spend it.
Thank you.
Question, Lima. Eric, did you get a chance to look over the budget and the notes and everything? I want to make sure that you had.
I did actually had a couple of questions, but I don't want to interrupt you. You guys were going over the budget. With the just looking at the income statement from last year, and you know, there's obviously going to be, now I don't want to say savings, but in terms of the, you know, the what's it called, the not the deficit, but the based on, you know, spending, there's not a lot, but you know, there's going to be saving. I know you were just talking about it, Pam, about the fact that there's some extra money based on the budget. You know, we have surplus. There we go. Surplus.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a little surplus left over. How much of the actual budget, you know, because I'm looking at the, you know, the 2021 and 2020, and how much, you know, based on, you know, percentage, you know, anticipated leftover, anticipated surplus at the end of the year. And I know you're using some of that to, you know, pay expenses, things like that, and cover some. Is that, how much of that's actually going to go in towards for obviously for the renovation, and then some for the special reserve, and then obviously that we're going to allocate that to the different
Yeah, so any extra I can only allocate to special reserves. If I don't spend it, I can only put it into special reserves. So while we're still within our budget lines, like particularly on things like construction in progress, I mean, I'm going to pay some of the architect fees out of that. And then we also have like professional consultant services that I'll be able to pay some of the fees out of those as well.
And it saves money. I mean, definitely. because
Right.
it
So I
allows-
also want to make sure that I don't put too much, because once I put something into special reserve,
It's locked in.
Yeah, I mean, the board has to pass a resolution to move those monies back and stuff like that. I mean, you have to pass a resolution either way. But I would prefer not to move monies into special reserve until I know for sure I'm not going to need them, and not even through the end of this year, but also keeping in mind that we are not going to see, we usually don't see our first tax monies until end of February, beginning of March. So I also want to make sure that we maintain enough dollars in the bank,
cash
right?
flows in order
Just-
to operate,
right,
because
so
we don't
cash
want
flow
to
issue.
run out of money right before anything comes in,
Exactly.
and we don't know what the tax things are going to be,
Exactly.
because they're especially with now the fact that the property taxes are being reevaluated all over the place, especially in Morton Grove and in our area.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's why I was thinking about it, because I was actually looking at the fact that if they reevaluate a lot of these property values in the houses, a lot of people are going to be paying less in property taxes, and that may not affect us in the long run, in the short run. But in the long run, less money coming in because people are paying less money in taxes because they're trying to reevaluate how much people are paying in property taxes.
Right.
And that means less money. I mean, obviously want to have money operating to operate in the future. I mean, with all the renovations we're to work on, want to streamline,
Right.
make sure that all these costs are coming in.
Yeah.
But that's why when you were asking in terms of, Emily, when you were asking about those things, that's why it was a good thing that, I mean, I was able to look at that, and I just saw the fact that, the fact that there was potentially, especially with the renovations, everything, no one wants to pay higher taxes. Nobody wants to see that they're paying their higher tax bill. I mean, Mick pointed out last time at the meeting when he was, just looking at the fact that we're spending, all that money on the pool over there. And I'm, like I said, all these people we're going to have tax levies that are going to higher. So when you're seeing, whenever we want to, we're asking for more levies or less levies. That's what I was, that's what I was just my thoughts, because we're going to want to make sure that the renovation is the best possible for the library, but also make sure that everybody who's spending, when they see where they're renovating the library, why, or if they're going to do it that way, we want to make sure we get in terms of the library gets the best for, and Emily, you always pointed out that we want to make sure that we get the best for the library in terms of the renovation. And we want to make sure everything is, in terms of the ideal with Pam and you guys with all the. I mean, it's beyond my pay grade in terms of what's going to be the best. You guys have the kids and with the lower level. It's excited about the fact that the renovation is happening and all that. So it's a good thing. I mean, you guys are the ones who are there all the time, and it's a big thing for me in terms of seeing like all the progress and all the stuff and all the just the ideas and everything. So like looking at that, I mean, just making sure that with the village and with everybody paying their taxes, they want to make sure that their money is being spent responsibly. And we we're looking at making a budget, make sure that we're not overspending, we're spending just enough when we're paying your tax bill. And if it's going to go down, that's great. But if my money is going to the library, it's going to be utilized, and it's going to be utilized in the best way. So it's a lot of, it's obviously not something for, we're just meaning to make sure the budget is, but it's just in terms of looking over the budget in terms of, Emily, I'm glad you pointed out, because there was like all these line items I was just looking at, and I said, there's tons of, the way all these things are, evaluated, they really looked at how are they going to go for the next, this next coming year. And then for the next, and then it allows us to, we're coming out of the pandemic, we're trying to figure out how this money is going to be spent in terms of, what's the most effective way of using the library's money. We talked about that. We talk about this every year when we're trying to figure out how we're going to figure out where the dollars are going. And, all these line items, they keep the employees, trying to keep them, and make sure that they're steady in terms of those things, different things in terms of if they're with a merit increase, and then with a different, utilizing all the stuff we have right now in order to figure out how, what's going to be the best use of the monies. So, I mean, I just keep thinking of Mick when Mick was talking about the fact that the responsibility of with the taxpayer dollars, and it's a big thing. It's, it's not, we're given the, you know, responsibility to make sure that the, I mean, in terms of not us, but I mean, you guys are doing everything day to day and everything like that. But in terms of voting on a budget, it's just a lot of responsibility to make sure that the money get, and you guys take care of that in terms of, you guys shepherd that and whole experience. But in terms of responsibility for the dollars, that's why we got, you know, that's why we're here. So I think, I mean, like I said, in terms of short answer, I think, like I said, there's all the line items, like, look like they address the issues. The question I had was just based on, like, the savings in terms of the private, like, that was a general question. And I think the way that you've addressed it in terms of making sure that there's a balance between making sure the library can still operate,
Right.
and making sure that we have money to, you know, for this renovation that saves actually the taxpayers money, because it's money that's been allocated already. It's been voted on. It's already been allocated. So we're not spending anything that's never been allocated. Okay. So the other part of it is, when we're looking, we're not asking for any more next year. What I'm looking again is, like, at the flat levy, and I know we go back and forth on this every year. We go 1%, 2%, and I always ask, you know, 1%, 3%, whatever. But the fact that it's flat, we're not asking for anything that we beyond anything what we've been asking for. You know, there's, you know, really, we're just spending the same money that's there. We keep the budget intact. The fact that you're utilizing loans and grants that are there, that the library can actually, you know, really reasonably afford, and with interest rates that, and we, again, those rolling over the interest rates allow you to maintain, like, some little bit of cash flow, like, for emergencies, things like that. So looking at the entire financial picture in terms of that, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's not so much a question. It's just a matter of how, and once you clarify the fact that that's, you know, you're going to use some, like, the leftover budget that's already there. That, you know, it's not really, that was my main question. In terms of the finer details, in terms of, you know, like, the individual line items, I went over those, and, you know, obviously everyone else has. I'm just, you know, I'm just one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 of us. But, you know, that was my one question. In terms of the individual line items, Emily, I just, yeah, short answer, yes, I was able to take a look at them. Okay, that's it.
Okay, good. No, thank you. I wanted you to be able to share any ideas, thoughts.
You always make sure that I get my 2 cents, and I always appreciate that, Emily.
Well, yes, you're a part of this board just like everyone else. So
Yeah, a loud part of it sometimes, but it's all right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, based on the first reading, Pam went through everything line by line and explained everything. I think everyone was feeling good after our first reading. So, and I do see that the kind of sample letter that you have to the mayor. So if everyone is feeling ready, we could vote to approve this. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, was there anything else that with the 2021 budget that anyone had any questions, concerns? We don't have to approve it tonight if anybody is still questioning anything. But I think based on last time too, I think we're all feeling pretty good. And the fact that there's very, very minimal change to the second and final reading. So I'm reading, again, it's so much easier to read in person. So I'm just kind of going by the Zoom heads, you know. So I will just go ahead. I will make a motion to approve the 2021 budget as presented. Do I need to do an amount on that?
It probably is not a bad idea to list the levy amount and then the total budget amount. So similar to the way that the letter to the village is worded.
So motion to keep the levy flat.
So yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 budget as presented with a property tax levy of $3,438,617 and total expenditures totaling $3,512,992.
And that is with a flat levy?
Yeah. Yeah, the difference is other potential revenue sources that we're still taking money in with from.
That is a flat levy, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second it. Are you looking for a second?
Yep, I was going to, but thank you, Nick.
There you go.
Okay,
Romantic.
right, we will vote.
I will say too, I've started thinking about the 2022 budget. Obviously, a lot can happen, as we know. A lot has happened this year, but I am anticipating, at least for 2022, unless something drastically changes, at least right now, I'm anticipating trying to keep the levy flat again for 2022 as well. But obviously, things could change, and we want to do the best thing for the library and the community. But going forward, I am very cognizant of other things that are going on in people's lives and in the village. So just putting that out there as well.
Good job.
We definitely appreciate your thoughtfulness with that.
Puzo,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Jost,
Yes.
thank you, Gonzalez,
Yes.
Masajek,
Yes.
Monzone,
You're muted, Eric.
Yes.
Pelletier, yes.
Okay, great.
So Emily, I need to send this to the village tomorrow. I told Hannah I would send it tomorrow because I knew that we would probably be voting on it today because the village is doing their budget stuff and their 2 meetings in November.
Okay.
Are you okay with me signing your name to this letter just so I can get it out to them?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Very good. All right, so next thing, YS renovation update. So in that email sent on Wednesday, I believe that had the construction management contract. Is that right, Pam? That was in that email.
That is
So
correct.
just an FYI with everyone. So yeah, so YS renovation update, construction management contract, and the presentation of design boards.
So we did have a kickoff meeting today, and the architects brought design boards because we assumed that some of you at least would be here in person. So those are still in the Baxter room. So I would say, as I know, I did put on the agenda to discuss kind of upcoming board meetings. But if anyone is in the library and wants to see those, I'm happy to walk you through there. We've got them all spread out in the Baxter room. We have them set on a table so we can leave them there so staff, and then if you guys want to see them. I know you've seen the PowerPoint and everything with, some of the first iterations of the designs. We've been, tweaking them over the past, month and a half, 2 months or whatever, however long it's been. So, made some fabric and furniture choices and those kinds of things. So again, I'm happy to show those to anyone if they want to come in, or even if you're here and I'm not here, we can let you in the Baxter room and you can take a look at those if you want to see those. So that was the design boards. The contract, obviously, Frank, the library's attorney, has looked it over, has been discussed any concerns he had with John Shales from Shales McNutt. When John was here this afternoon for the meeting, he commented on how easy it was to work with Frank, that he was very practical, very common sense, and that he really enjoyed working with him and making the revisions to the contract that we had requested. So, so that went pretty smoothly. I think I also forwarded to you guys the fee proposal, which is kind of related to the contract. And I think I mentioned it in my report. Their base fee is about $3,000 to $4,000 cheaper than typical, because we're, Jason is acting as a project manager and the site, superintendent. So we are saving a little bit of money doing it that way. And I have to say, again, after, meeting today and talking with Jason even more, I mean, I'm really super comfortable with that decision that we made to move forward with that way. I think that it will be really beneficial to our whole project. But I think Frank also was the one that did the suggested motion, so that has already been vetted by him as well. So I can go over, I don't know if you want to approve the contract or if you want to talk about the contract or if you want to, we talked a little bit about timing and you know, upcoming meetings and who would be at what meetings, and I'm happy to go over those things with you as well. If you want me to do that now or after. Or
Well, no, so you can talk about this. So the fee description and approach, that kind of breaks down a little bit of how they're gonna
charge us, basically.
charge us, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, what's the 18,050?
That's their base fee.
Base fee.
Yeah.
But then if you go down, you see the project executive is $149 an hour. Are those extra costs or is that included in this 18?
Those are extra. So, so the 18,000 is kind of pre-construction stuff. So like, you know, when they're coming and, or when they're coming, you know, all the stuff that they're doing up until kind of bid opening and that sort of thing is my understanding. So it's all this kind of getting ready stuff that covers, that's what that initial fee covers. And then after that, then they start charging, you know, like an hourly rate, depending on how much they're out during the week and that sort of thing. So
who keeps track of that time?
they do.
They do.
Yeah, and then what will happen and I'm sure this will be like other construction projects that I've done, is that what will happen once they start, you know, once they actually start construction is every month, they'll give us a list of everything that that has happened that month. So it'll be like any work that they've done, any subcontracting things that we have to approve, that sort of thing. So that'll be a monthly thing, and then we have to approve that and pay. So it'll be a whole packet of stuff that we'll get every month that outlines everything that has gone on that previous month.
Okay.
Any other questions? And I can go over kind of what we had talked about at the kickoff meeting. We continue to tweak some of the design things today. Courtney was working with, her name is Rachel from Product Architecture Plus Design. She's their designer. And so she's kind of finalizing some of the furniture and the shelving that is downstairs and the location of some tables and some electric and those sorts of things. The big thing that is happening right now, I mentioned in my report that we're going to do some preliminary demolition of some ceiling areas, the walls like in the Cooperman room and then the activity room, so that we can see what's behind that. We did have Midwest Engineering come out this morning, and they were out here actually for several hours today. They're the people, that's the company that does asbestos, both testing and removal if necessary, and then also they do lead testing. So there are some areas of concern in the lower level. I was under the impression that the entire library had been tested for asbestos in different spots when we did the main level and mezzanine level renovation, but apparently it had not been. So there are some areas that they took a lot of samples. So they're gonna test some things and they're gonna let us know. So that's probably, that will happen before anything else, just so that we know what we're getting into and we know if we'll have to do any abatement as part of this. So no one seems too worried about it. I mean, certainly is not gonna be, I mean, I know Carlotta, you were here, it's not gonna be the way that the abatement was on the main level and the mezzanine level. It felt like, you know, we were just surrounded by asbestos. So I think there's a couple, the places where they're particularly interested or concerned are, there's some pipe insulation, there's some black mastic under the tiles that are in the Cooperman room, and there's a couple of areas, other areas that they want to test for sure. But so they took all those samples. We should know that by next week. And then our staff, our maintenance staff, Ed and Ganka and probably Polo, will Jason will mark off areas that our staff can work on, like removing ceiling tiles and those kinds of things. We may have to have someone in to take down the drywall, but possibly not, because all they need to do is take down the drywall, just so that they can get a good idea of what's behind or what's above the ceilings and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the first phase of this. So there will be some, that when we talk about preliminary demolition, that's what I'm referring to.
Pam?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt. I just, as you're saying that, every year when we go through the walkthrough, the last 2 or 3 years, whenever there's like those areas, like in terms of code, I'm sure they all doesn't anticipated, but that's asbestos. I brought that up, but like when the lower level bathrooms, I know they're going to renovate those, but with the whole thing with and then when we do the staff lounge, and they have all the different code issues, and they said it's grandfathered in right now because of the fact that the library is so old.
There, right.
Building, the first floor. I mean, I know I wasn't a part of that part of renovation, but with this part of the renovation, I just noticed and I mean, you guys have probably anticipated this as well. All the different things, have they've been working with Morgan Grove in order to like minimize, because there's repairs, and if there's like having to repair the system, the lighting and the plumbing, all those things. I mean, that's way above my pay grade, but I'm just saying in terms of getting costs, like it costs to get everything up to code when they're doing the renovations, because the demolition, when they're doing the with asbestos, that brought it up because of the fact that they'll be taking down walls. They're gonna have to renovate, like the based on the plans that we're doing. Are those going to be additional, those kind of, I don't say built in, but they anticipate, those to make sure that those don't skyrocket. I mean, not skyrocket, that term.
Well, they know our budget. They know the limitations, I mean, there's a finite amount of money, and they are aware of that. So they are actively working on the cost estimating right now, and figuring out if there's asbestos abatement that needs to be done, and then seeing what's behind the different walls or the ceilings. That's all part of this. It's just making sure that there are no surprises when they start getting bids and that kind of thing. So that is all built into this process with them, and and I feel, very, very confident that, I mean, they're an outstanding construction management firm. They've done a lot of work in libraries. They've done a lot of work with our architects, and they're very, very highly thought of in the industry. So I have no doubt about that. But they, like I said, they are aware of our budget, and they know. So what will happen is, once they start doing the cost estimating based on, choices we've made in terms of, what we're actually doing, some furniture choices, some other things like that, we'll see where those numbers come in. And then if there's areas that we have to make some other decisions, like we're adding in a few other things right now because we think we're going to have the funds, just because we think it's a good time to do this. A few alternates. But what will happen is, once we get the actual, as we, they tweak the cost estimates, and they get them more refined, right? I mean, the more they know, they can give us better cost estimates. At that point, it will be, if something comes in over our budget, then we would have to make some of those decisions, like, okay, well, this is over, so what other choices do we have that can address any issues that we have, and what changes do we need to make? So that's a fairly standard process. So we're right in, kind of where we need to be, but that is all something that is built into the process. But they do know our budget going into it. It's not like we just said, oh, here's what we're going to do, and just, give us this number, because they can come back and go, oh, well, for $10 million, we can do this, this, and this. But, when I say, okay, I've only got, 1.4 or whatever it is, they are aware of that. So,
yeah, no,
and it's their job to make sure that everything's done to code. So,
I mean, like I said, I'm just only asking, like, you guys have you and Emily are having meetings with everybody, you guys, and Courtney and everything. You guys know that I'm just asking in terms of, I didn't, because I know we have a unique building. I mean, I just know that's like something me as a, like, just watching I see, like, oh yeah, by the way, when we do the construction, we want to renovate that thing. That's going to be an issue. But you guys are in the, I didn't know in terms of But I
Yeah, when I was talking, even through the interview process and stuff, people would ask, what were some of my main concerns with the whole process or the project. And my concern has always been that, we would get into things and we would find something that would just suck up all the money that we had. That was, like, oh, you've got to, redo the complete foundation. Well, there goes all my money and we can't do anything fun with it. So, that's always been a concern of mine. They're aware that, what a unique building, and that's a great way to put it, that we're working with. And so they're doing everything they can to make sure that there aren't any surprises as we get further into the project.
got it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what will be happening over the next month or so is we are actively working on a plan to, as I mentioned in my report as well, moving people around. When we first started talking about the project, it was pre-pandemic, obviously. We had talked a lot about doing things in phases as necessary, so that we wouldn't disrupt patrons coming into the building too much. But obviously, in COVID times, it gives us it's frustrating and scary on many levels, but it gives us an opportunity because we have fewer people in the building. We're not doing programming out of the building, those kinds of things. So we will be moving a service desk and some shelving and a small part of the collection, the Wise collection, upstairs to what is the teen room right now. And then probably we're getting some pricing, probably just boxing up the rest of the collection and storing it. And then just making the entire lower level kind of off limits. And so that will mean that they can get in there, and once construction actually starts, they can get in there, they can knock things out. They don't have to worry about phasing and moving, things around. They can just do what needs to be done. So that will be better in terms of, the length of time of the project taking. And, obviously anything that's going to take less time is going to cost us less money. So, so we thought that was a really good, kind of a silver lining to this, was that, it did enable us to make some of those kinds of changes that we would not have been able to do, in normal times. So the intent right now is for the architects to finalize the drawings by Thanksgiving. And then those will go out for bid the first week of December. SMC would like to have bids back before Christmas, if they could. And then in January, let me take a step back. So SMC and the architects will be at our November meeting, just to present to you guys kind of the process, what we're going to be going into with the bids, presenting any, the kind of the final drawings, if you will. So that will be at the November meeting for you guys to see that. Again, drawings finalized by Thanksgiving, bids by bid proposals go out early December, due back before Christmas. Then in January, in between Christmas and then the January meeting, what will happen, they'll do the bid opening, and then SMC will actually go through all of the bids and then make sure that as a public body, most often, we try to go with the lowest bid. So what they will do is go through all of those bids and make sure that everyone, particularly people that come in with the lowest bid, can actually do the job. So they'll kind of do all that due diligence for us. So we won't get into a situation where someone has, lowballed a bid, or it's come in really low and we've gone with that person and it turns out they can't do the job for whatever reason. So SMC will check that before we even get any further. With that, then at the January board meeting will be the whole packet that the board will have to approve, the subcontractors that have been chosen. And then actual construction probably won't start until February. So, and then it'll probably be 3 or 4 months is what people have told us. So there's, kind of measure twice, cut once sort of thing. So there's a lot of preliminary work that goes into that before they start doing really anything, in terms of construction wise. But everyone was really SMC was really comfortable with this timeline. The architects were comfortable with this timeline. I have been told multiple times from multiple people at this point that this is a really good time, that they really are anticipating us, getting some savings just because of not only the time of the year, it's winter, so the trades are oftentimes looking for jobs to do, particularly inside. But then also, with COVID and the pandemic, that we'll be able to achieve some savings, hopefully. So that's kind of the general idea of what's going to happen over the next couple of months. Yeah. And does anyone have any questions about that? Like I said, when they're out at the meetings, or when they come out, or Zoom, however we end up doing it, they'll be able to give you more detail, and you can ask them questions directly.
What is that going to be? I'm sorry, I missed that.
November, our next board
next
meeting.
board meeting. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did the design boards look?
Great. They really, I had printed out the, they had sent me updated renderings and stuff based on some choices we had made. And, I printed them out. I'm like, oh, this is really great and stuff like that. But they brought the actual, the 11x17 boards and stuff, and they just look so much better. And so, hopefully you guys can, have a chance to come in and see them in person. But they look really good. And I think we're all feeling really good about the choices and the way it's going to look, and just I think it'll be such a benefit to the community and stuff. So I'm super excited.
What color theme are you going with?
It's kind of a blue and green, some teals, yellows, depending on different sections of the department. So really, it's colorful, but it's not like a zillion different colors. We tried to tone it down because Tiffany and Dan can be a little, lots and lots of colors. So, but Courtney and I are not so much. So we did do some toning down and made some other choices, but we're feeling really, really comfortable with the choices that we've made. And I think it will, they're not so different, or they're similar enough that there'll be a little bit more sense of continuity between the upper levels, the main floor and the mezzanine level, and now the lower levels. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Pam, why are they displayed in the Baxter room, of which is closed? I mean, do you think we should bring it out so patrons can see them?
We can. Obviously, we just had them all in there because we needed a big space to spread everything out.
Okay, so that's.
And we were still, making choices and stuff like that. And it was a good place because, we've just got furniture and stuff stored in there. So we were able to set up a couple of tables and spread everything out so we could see it all, make some choices, have staff come in and, look at things and that kind of thing. So now that we have the design boards, we can absolutely choose to either. We've been closing the Baxter room because patrons have been going in there, and we caught some patrons, I don't know, doing something, but not anything bad. I think they just went in there and I don't know what they were expecting to find. So, but we can certainly set them up either, outside and, somewhere on the main level, or not so much downstairs because there's really not that many people that go down there, and they're kind of in and out. But yeah, now that we've got the boards, we can do that. I've been working on the newsletter article for our December-January newsletter. So, but that doesn't go out. I mean, I had to do the article now, of course, because, there's the lead time for the print newsletter, but that will go out at the end of November. And this will be on the front. This is the front page article, but I will probably be talking to Chad next week about how we want to start publicizing. So, and that'll be like in the e-newsletter and, the weekly email things and stuff like that. So yeah, we can absolutely start putting out the design boards. I'd probably want to do that after we kind of send an initial email, or, right at the same time kind of thing, so that, and getting some talking points for staff so that we're all saying the same things.
Mhm.
But yeah, we can absolutely do the design boards. I mean, that's kind of what they're for, is to then also, show the community and show patrons and stuff.
We paid so much money for them, we should let the community see it. Is there a
Yep.
way to hang them? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? instead of looking down at them, you'll look maybe up.
Yeah, we might, we've got some easels and stuff, so I'll have to play around because there's quite a few of them. So we'll just have to, I'll have to talk to Karina because she's really good at figuring that kind of thing out and how we want to display them. So yeah, we'll get them displayed, and she's really awesome at doing that. So we'll pull something together. Yep.
Okay.
And it will be a like a bright spot for people to think about. So I mean, that's something to look forward to. So
Right.
Not to congregate around.
what's that?
Not
Not to congregate around, socially distanced. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just something positive to look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't congregate around.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, and I'm the fact that Frank has looked at this. We know we trust Frank and his expertise. They're right. Frank is great to work with. So so that's okay. This is the motion. So everyone is feeling good with this. I'll make a motion that the board approve the contract with Shales McNutt Construction as construction manager for the renovation of the lower level of the library building, with the construction manager's compensation to be the cost of the work plus a fee as provided in the contract, and authorize Executive Director Pam Leffler to execute the contract on behalf of the library.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Left off with Swanson. We're gonna vote Swanson.
Oh, he gave you a thumbs up, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't see him. I only can
Yeah.
see 2 people. Okay.
Oh.
Jost,
Yes.
thank you. Gonzalez,
yes.
Mesa Jack,
Yes.
Monzone,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Okay, new business, the November 3rd holiday. That's Election Day. I know a lot of schools are closed. So will that be a holiday for the library too, or you're on mute?
All right. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. As of right now, so I did provide at least the first couple pages of the actual law and highlighted the section that would apply to both schools and then government offices. The confusion has over this law has come over what does it mean by government offices. And so like on the director listserv and on some of the other listservs that I'm on, there's been a lot of discussion about our libraries considered government offices. So, and quite frankly, legal counsel has been all over the map, and libraries' decisions about whether or not they're going to remain open or closed have been all over the map. As of right now, I do not plan on closing on November 3rd, unless we get some clarification in between now and November 3rd that indicates that libraries are considered government offices and should be closed. So we've got libraries that serve as polling places, and so their whole library is going to be open. There are some libraries that serve as polling places and only the polls are going to be open, and then their libraries are closed. There's some libraries that have said, our attorney says that we should close, so we're going to close. And then there's other libraries that have said, it's not clear. Our attorney has said, no, we're not considered a government office in the same way that, like, say, the DMV is, or, the Village Hall or something like that. So we're not going to close. So the reason I have it on here is because apparently there is some litigation that has been filed. I don't think that's the right term, but there is some litigation that's pending to get some clarification for libraries. It is my understanding that there was some opinion was going to be handed down by next week or sometime next week. But obviously that would be after this board meeting and before our next one and before the election. So what I was asking the board's permission to do is, A, are you comfortable with me remaining open given the way that the law is worded? I mean, obviously, if you want me to close, we will make that happen. But if you're okay with me remaining open for now, do you give me permission that if the law then turns around and says you need to be closed because we designate you as a government office, just that I've got your permission to go ahead and make that happen? So that was,
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with you being
Okay.
open and you making the call if you end up getting clarification.
okay.
I mean, and based on that wording, I would agree. It doesn't seem, yeah.
It's very
Because,
unclear for
my law degree
libraries.
is sitting up on the shelf too.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't, spell it out for you either. So.
Yeah, it's been really difficult to get any. Like I said, literally there's also, and I have 2 other legal opinions, from, people said, oh, I talked to my lawyer and this is what they say. One lawyer says, oh no, you have to close. And then another lawyer from another firm says, oh no, this doesn't apply to libraries.
Lawyers can't agree on anything. I'm telling you right now, I've heard about that, and lawyers are just nuts sometimes. I'm telling you.
So okay, if the
I've heard about the people I work with, so.
yeah. So as long as the board is comfortable, I just wanted to bring that to your attention and get your permission that if that, obviously I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything one way or the other. But as of right now, unless something changes, I will not be closing the library. There's a combination of things. A, we already have provisions in our employee handbook that people can take paid time off to go vote. I'm a big proponent of voting anyway. So I tell my staff that we will make this happen for you no matter what. And then obviously this year, because it's only a holiday for this year, is to maintain social distancing and because of the pandemic and stuff. But I feel like we are not in a situation where I have to worry about people crowding in here on that day because we're not a polling place and we're not a government office in the same way. So I feel pretty comfortable, at least right now, remaining open unless, I get some word that says, no, the governor has said that you have to close. So, okay.
Yeah.
That was all for that.
All right. Okay, next we're going to discuss upcoming board meetings.
So I added this because I know that there's a few of the board members coming into this meeting that needed to continue to meet virtually for a variety of reasons. And then obviously, with what's going on at Parkview and stuff. So I just was wondering, I know that some of you are really looking forward and anxious to meet in person again. So I just wanted to put this out here as an item for discussion. Do we continue to kind of play it by ear every month? Knowing right now, I think like Mick knows for sure that he can only meet virtually for the next few months at least, if not longer.
Cool, and everything going on, right?
So I don't know, if these are decisions you want to make now or if we just kind of call this.
Well, a lot of board members are parents. I mean, that's, with kids, you want to get everyone, that's
Right.
always.
That's why I want to meet in person, because they keep bugging me.
Well,
Convenient.
I'll just put in my 2 cents and everyone feel free to share. And here, and I won't make it a secret. And this is what I tell Pam pretty much every month, is that one, I want everyone to be comfortable. No, I guess I don't have I have several things, but that's the number one thing I tell Pam. I want people to feel comfortable, and I'm happy to do either. That's usually what I tell her. So I think, my personal opinion, I think we should probably continue to play this by ear. I'd like to be able to tell you that there will be no other issues in Parkview or anything or any possible whatever. I can't tell that. None of us can do that right now. So I know there are a few of us that prefer to meet virtually, and I know that there's a few of us that also would prefer to be in the building. I think the best we can do is just kind of assess it kind of month by month. I mean, I don't think having a long-term, like, oh, by January we'll all be in the building. I don't think that's realistic. So that's just my 2 cents there. So please feel free to share.
I'm fine with playing it by ear month to month.
I think that's what we've been doing and it's worked out fine. So let's continue assessing each month and make decisions accordingly.
And I'll just say, I mean, and I know that Pam has really worked hard to make sure that the option of kind of doing the whole hybrid thing, which I'll make sure to stress too, that because we probably wouldn't, due to space constraints, and then due to the fact that we need to make our meetings accessible to the public, we would have to continue doing a hybrid type of thing. So we would still have to continue doing like a Zoom type of thing. So public members could, the public could tune in and share their concerns or whatever. Not that we always have a lot of public, but that's still something that we do have to do. So, Pam, I know your efforts are really appreciated this month, because I know that you were really trying to make kind of that hybrid option work. And if we want that as an option in the future, the important thing to consider though is that we would need 4 people in the library.
Yeah, I need to get some clarification. When the pandemic initially started, they loosened up the Open Meetings Act pretty significantly and said you could meet online all the time. Just record it. Votes have to be roll call vote, that kind of thing. So there weren't a lot of they did loosen some of those, restrictions to the Open Meetings Act. We're in this kind of in-between phase right now where like I have to be here in the building or an officer has to be here in the building but you guys can all, everyone else can be virtual. There is some question about if we start having some people come into the building, does our new reality, does that kind of go away, and do we revert back to whatever to the normal OMA, which said if you're going to have electronic or telephonic participation, you have to have a physical quorum in your physical space. I don't know if that rule would still apply. Like if we're saying, okay, we're going to meet in person and we're not going to say that, we're meeting virtually because of the pandemic, does that kind of go away? And then we're just back to regular OMA. So I have to find that out. But one of the reasons that you can meet virtually or telephonically or have participation those 2 ways is due to an emergency. And I feel like the pandemic is an emergency kind of thing. But I don't know if the Illinois Attorney General and the PAC would see it the same way. So I'll try to get some clarification over the next couple of weeks on that as well.
And they haven't issued any guidance in terms of like when they issued all the new guidelines, they didn't say, they didn't, I mean, there's got to be.
No, not for that kind of hybrid where you've got some people in person and some people virtually. Basically, it just said that you can continue to have people meet virtually, but you've got to have an officer or a director of the organization at the physical location. And then everyone else can meet virtually. But they didn't give a lot of guidance past that. So that's why some of us, again, on the director list were saying, because someone else was asking, if I switch back to in person, but I've got, 3 or 4 board members that still want to meet virtually, how does that work? Does OMA still apply, and what version of OMA? So we're still kind of, figuring that all out. But I'm fine playing it by ear every month. I just wanted to, kind of touch base with the board about that as we head into the winter months and stuff like that, and kind of unknowing or not knowing what's going to happen, with cases of virus or flu or combination, and just, how that may impact us. But I'm absolutely fine to see where we're at every month.
Well, this is where those disagreeing lawyers would play a right nice role and tell you what the heck to do.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
I'm telling you, attorneys, man, I'm telling you.
Okay, so that I just wanted to
Yeah.
kind of, put that out for everyone, just so that we know that that's kind of how we're going to be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next, we have the director evaluation.
So hard to believe it's that when I was looking, I'm like, is it really that time already? It seems like it was just last October, but it was just last October. So you have in your packets the director evaluation form. I've also included an envelope that you will need to return to the library somehow. And you know, if that's problematic, let me know and we can work something out for you. You know, if you even want to do it, like drop it off either in the book drop or, you know, at curbside or something, we can do that. Just let me know so I can let the CERC staff know to watch for that and not throw that out, even though it says on their director evaluation. So I also then included from the bylaws what has typically been the timeline for the director evaluation.
So
So
this
I'm-
would give everybody, so we're talking the 4th Thursday of October. It gives everyone 2 weeks to complete the evaluation. We go by this, right? Am I looking at that right? Yeah. And then somewhere within those next 2 weeks, then Joanne and Carlotta and I would meet. So
Yes.
is 2 weeks, does that work for everyone to 2 weeks to do the director evaluation? Drop it off the library somehow, kind of?
I will say that I didn't have a chance to write up my annual kind of, you know, my progress towards my goals, which I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, every single goal I made, I'm sure it's just out the window. And surprisingly, they're not. So, but I haven't written anything up, but I do plan on having all of that written by the end of this weekend. And so I will send that to you guys. So my apologies that it wasn't done by tonight.
Okay. Yeah, no, that would be appreciated. I think having a comparison of nearby or libraries similar size, kind of comparison of library director salaries, that kind of.
Oh, okay.
I think that's helpful.
You want that again? Okay.
I think that's helpful for everyone too.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah. So that's on everyone's to-do list. So the next 2 weeks, please complete that evaluation.
Yeah, and again, if you're going to drop them like off in the book drop, just let me know so that I can let CERC know. So.
Okay.
And then.
Pam, what dates do you want at the very top where it says from to?
It's usually for the year, the calendar year.
The year, no months. Or
Yeah, it's usually just that. Yeah, it's like January through, you know, January 1 through December 31st is usually what we do.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then for the executive committee meeting, Emily, if that's something that you want to do virtually for you guys, just let me know and I can help get that set up because we've got, you know, a couple different Zoom accounts for the library.
Okay.
Or if you need to do it in person, let me know because really the only place that I would feel comfortable if the three of you wanted to meet in person would be in the Baxter room. So I just have to make sure that it's set up to give you guys enough, you know, far enough away.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'll touch base with Joanne and Carlotta and we'll figure out
Okay.
how we want to meet. So, okay. All right. Good. All right. So next, communications. There was a letter from the Homestead, the senior building in Morton Grove, to Mayor DiMaria. Did everyone get a chance to look at that?
Yeah, they had over 30 people sign it. That's pretty,
Yeah.
They were actively applauding. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was nice. Yeah. All right. I think that was only communication though.
Yep,
right?
there was nothing else. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, public comments, non-agenda items, still no public. All right. Again, thank you everybody for your flexibility for tonight. I'd like to say it won't happen again, but you know, that's not realistic. So we'll just keep each other posted. That's all we can do. All right. So our next So again, director evaluations, please. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 12th. And it's 8:27. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay healthy, stay safe,
You.
take good care.
Yeah, hopefully
Tuesday.
Parkview is not, hopefully they'll nip that in the bud and, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the class